Storytime with Erwin Blackthorn. Tonight's story is called Getting in Touch with Grandma, a True Tale of Horror. My grandmother has seen me naked only days ago, but I was no longer stricken with agonizing shame, for I'd since been told that I had a big old cock. I was all red in the face when she'd see me laying on the couch nude. To be fair, I wasn't expecting company. Plus, who knew she'd be stopping by to give her condolences for my girlfriend who'd croaked some time ago? I'd already gotten over the whole thing, hence the reason I lay on the couch nude in the first place. I had just finished having my way with Snow White, my obliging feline friend. My grandma peeped at my old cock, and to her it may as well have been a snake off of Medusa's scalp, the way she shielded her eyes and resorted to resembling Stevie Wonder trying to follow a fly around a room based on the sound of its incoherent buzz. I hadn't known yet that I had a piece to be proud of, so like a moron, I prudishly hid the thing away under a throw pillow, and coyly scooted around a corner where I could poke my head out to say, Granny? What the fuck, dude? She told me she was sorry for my girl's death and all, which struck me as odd, and then she went on to do something else that fit the bill as rather odd. She offered me a Xanax. Grandma knew that I had anxiety, so maybe after walking in on me naked, she thought I'd become a bit anxious, but still, she wouldn't have known where to get a Xanax. So, I asked the old woman where she'd found it, to which her reply was my medicine cabinet. I came to find out she'd been in my apartment for a while. It unsettled me to know that this old woman, who I rarely saw, had been creeping around my apartment as I lay exposed and unaware. "Grandma, I'll take the Xanax, thanks." And she left. I wedged a piece of wood behind the door so that my grandma couldn't get back in, a thought that made my spine tingle. It had been 2 days since the incident, and I thought I was ready to remove the makeshift doorstop. I'd been told over chat roulette that my cock was rather large, and that was all the boost I needed to be able to stand up to the event of my grandma barging in on me, again, full on naked, and say, "Grandma, it's okay. Go ahead and give it a grab." To which she totally obliged, making for one hell of a cock squeezer. And I can say this because I've seen her knead dough. At the thought of that, I remained seated on the toilet, where I'd managed to squeeze out the last stubborn bit of, well, you know, and indulged to the fleeting fantasy. I jerked off. I finished into the bowl, and my little spermies were climbing Mount Everest. At that point, with no sexual agenda on the brain, I could take that Xanax. Noodle dick is a known side effect of benzos. Well, you know that, right? I hope I'm not teaching anyone here. Don't tell me you're one of those content fucks so optimistic that never a day goes by you sit contemplating your poor life choices. My drug is life and I'm high on it. That's what they say. Some of us aren't so lucky, and we rely on the aid of drugs that make our cocks limp. So, I popped the Xanny and waited for its effect to take hold of my rapidly descending mind. Its effects. I felt strange ones within moments. My hands became clammy and you could light a match on my parched tongue. It wasn't long before I was thrown into a state of panic, and I broke into frightful convulsions. The room slowly phased into a kaleidoscope of disoriented colors, and the walls periodically motioned in and out like a tide. Shortly after, the midgets appeared. Midgets, or Oompa Loompas, one or the other, sprouted from the floorboards like moles, and they were really mean to me. I wish they would stop flipping me off, but they wouldn't quit. They all queued up like the 7 dwarves, telling me one by one things they disliked about me, their chubby little middle fingers probing in my general direction. They had cornered me in the apartment, and I was at their mercy. It wasn't until Snow White had hopped down from the fridge to aid me in my state of despair that I'd gained the strength to fend off these trolls, but By then, there had been an accumulation of 100 or so of them. They ditched the verbal abuses and proceeded to perform unsightly gags upon each other. I could distinctly see one perform fellatio on another, and above Snow White's drinking bowl, one took to licking another's anus. A rim job, I think that one's called. When I'd peered over my shoulder to see one straddling Snow White, I'd simply had enough. I swatted him off of her, and suddenly, there was a tangible shift in the room. In fighting back, I'd taken away their power. I began twirling in the air and whipping it at the midgets, haphazardly knocking over a few, in a desperate attempt to catch one. Stanley Kubrick's own Indiana Jones, I intended to reel one in and kick in his Malenki or Blockos. One after another, midgets were getting clocked in the head with my rope-like phallus, others tripping over the bodies of their fallen comrades. I hadn't yet succeeded in yanking one of their feet, but I tried and tried. I couldn't get the angle of my cock right, a problem that had plagued my every relationship. The room had been slowly becoming solid again, and the midgets wore thin, vanishing into the ether. My cock shrank, finding its way back between my legs. Overcome with accomplishment, I crashed onto the floor in tears. I called over Snow White. "Baby, we made it," I said, teary-eyed. I was too spent of energy to lift an arm to pet her. The sensory overload had left me with labored breathing, and possibly permanent neuropathy. At that moment, unnerved by a vibration that began to rattle the old floorboards beneath me, I noticed that the wooden wedge behind the door had slightly fallen. I lay, motionless. I didn't know if the shaking was of my own heart pounding, or the momentum of something rapidly approaching. I honed in on the pendulous light fixture on the ceiling, which swung violently. Then, I heard a slow, clunky jangle, and all at once, the door swung agape, sending the wooden block to crash into the drinking bowl. Everything went black, my eyes laden with stagnant water. I scrambled in place, unable to move, and blinded. I opened my eyes to see the disoriented sight of my perturbed grandmother's twisted face, leering at me. I tried to speak, but physically couldn't. I lay numb, incapable of getting up, the human embodiment of the dreaded noodle dick. It was since that night that I've never regarded the unusual death of my girlfriend as a mystery. My girlfriend died of an overdose of LSD. My grandmother discovered her body. I finished into the bowl, and my little spermies were climbing I began twirling it in the air and whipping it at the midgets, haphazardly knocking over a few. Oh, goddammit.